Welcome back to another episode of PokeHub ModCast. I'm your host Kibo, and I'm joined here again today with Chip Fu. It's very nice to have you back.
Thanks, it's great to be back. I listened to the last podcast, and Majestic Moose was talking to you about Arduinos. And I remember you talked to me about the Arduino story and about how it kind of started in this little, was it a cafe or a bar?
It was a bar in Ivrea, Italy.
And it was
tiny town.
Yeah, and it was named Arduino, right?
Yeah.
What does the word mean?
The word it doesn't. I don't think it has a meaning. Because it's a name. It came after he was the king of Italy.
Oh, so it's like his last name.
He was
right. King Arduino.
Yeah, king of Ivrea, and I think his first name was Arduino or something.
Right.
And so I believe it was Arduino something or other, and from that name is where Arduino, the bar, came from.
Right.
Right, and so these founders, while they were in school creating the Arduino, as we now know it, they would always go to the bar and meet up, and that's where they'd exchange their notes and, work on the project, which is kind of cool. How
what interests me about that is, so when I deconstruct it in my head, you got a Pokemon fan who loves the game, doesn't want to do the grind, so they create their own way of doing the grind for them. But it's in such like an archaic way. It's like something the ancient Egyptians would have done, right? Yeah. It's like you create a physical machine that like ticks and turns and presses buttons and then kind of automates the pressing of buttons on your controller.
Yeah, it's amazing. I saw this guy had his, like I mentioned in the last podcast, a Poke-O-Matic. And
this is the one with the fan, right?
No, this one.
Oh, this is different.
This is a different one. This one, it was using his 3DS. And where the fan one was with the Switch.
Right.
So this guy, he had his 3DS and he had his Arduino. And he had all his wires and everything hooked up. Some things were taped to the screen with like electrical tape. So I wonder if that's touching the screen possibly because it was a 3DS.
Yeah, because it's got like, is it capacitive touch?
Yeah.
Right?
So probably it was like tapping things on the screen. But basically what this mod was doing was this guy's character in the Pokemon game was going to the breeder, collecting eggs. Right. And literally walking away, walking back and forth,
collecting eggs, collecting eggs. Right.
And then they would hatch while he would do his steps. And it was so funny to me how long it took. Like, the steps, he would take it. The character wouldn't just walk. It would be like step, stop, step, stop. So you could tell how it was literally very methodically.
Yeah.
Like, very methodical, counting everything, like 1, 2,
That's
3.
crazy.
And you could see the stuttering. So you could see the mechanical use of the Arduino, but like how it's working to
I think that's just
shiny chain. It's just this
amazing.
It's it looks so complicated when you're looking at it. And I could probably never replicate that. But it's
like
so
there must be such a need for that person to go that far to do that. Right?
That's what I'm thinking too. Like, how not desperate are you, but how desperate are you? Like, how much do you want that shiny Pokemon that you're going to go to this length?
That's a lot. Like, that's creative.
It is very creative. Kudos to those people because that is very imaginative. And it must have taken
the one with the fan made me laugh. Like,
right?
I'm assuming it just went round and like on one of the blades or something, it had, I don't know, something stuck to it that tapped the button.
Yeah.
Like a piece of tack or a plastic ball or something that just clicked it every time it went past.
I would love to see that video. I can only imagine how hilarious that would be.
Yeah, like it makes you wonder. There must be people out there who have just created these incredibly elaborate machines, and then they saw a video on YouTube and was like, oh, they have like this USB stick that does it for you now with the press of a button.
Yeah, now it's just like, oh, okay. I saw a guy on an airplane. He had that the tray you can pull down in front of you. He had that down. He had a switch on there connected to an Arduino. And it was doing almost exactly the same thing as our shiny chaining mod does.
Oh, really?
Almost the exact same steps. And this was posted a month ago. So
interesting.
Yeah, and this guy, he used his Arduino, and it was all hooked up, but I'm thinking he could have just had his OTG cable plugged in his switch up, and
like
boom,
2 seconds, boom, done.
Done.
It does make you wonder, right? If you are one of these people, you spent all of that time building this thing, and then you see our product, do you say, oh wow, somebody else did it and it made my life so much easier now? Or do you say, you know what? I take pride in the fact that I invented this really cool thing. I'm just going to keep using it because it still works, right?
Yeah.
Does our product actually go faster than his, or is it pretty much the same?
He took out a couple of the less like traveling to the map and back to get the same position thing.
Yeah.
But it didn't look as nice, as efficient, because instead of respawning at the bridge field, he would just, after talking to the nursery lady, collecting his egg, he would just then immediately go to the left and then start cycling. But with that, he wasn't giving himself enough room, so he kept running into things.
Oh, of course,
so it's awkward circles, and then eventually they move themselves out of that awkwardness because it bumps it over, bumps it over, bumps it over.
It's almost like he's just hitting the edges and it's pushing him to the side. Right?
Yeah, so it's with that way. See, like, it takes away a little bit of time, but at the same time, it's not as efficient because you're not getting the full circles.
Right.
So counting the hatch times, kind of like to account for that would be
like
way
it's
harder.
not accurate, right?
Yeah. So it's
almost like you keep throwing a knife at a dartboard and eventually you hit the bullseye. When you have on the opposite side, you have a machine that accurately shoots at the bullseye every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Only it takes a bit longer for that machine to work. Yeah. So you've kind of got the balance of like, well, which one works better for you?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a moot point because not everybody can just go online and buy what he's built or build it themselves. But with us, you can just buy a little USB stick and it's done.
Well, I think the majority of people would either look at the Arduino and then look at the switch up and know that the Arduino is capable of creating a shiny hunting mod like this, automating it. Or I can buy a little USB stick, which has it already done for me. And, for probably cheaper than having to buy all the wires and proper equipment that you would need as well as the Arduino board.
I think you just hit on something there, right? Because if you think about it, the whole point, like we were saying, people don't have all the time in the world, which is why they buy the switch up and they automate shiny chaining, or, they use auto, roto, lotto to get like master balls or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So they're taking out the grind. They're taking out the time that they don't have in their lives to do that. So using the Arduino basically just adds more time.
Yeah,
it's more effort and time that you don't have.
Yeah, especially for those people who are unfamiliar with the programming and the whole like engineering part of it, wiring.
I mean, it's fascinating. You got to take your hat off to these people. Like, I have full respect for someone who takes the time, the energy, and the tenacity to sit there and build something and design it and be like, I am going to solve this problem by building something.
Oh, I think it's unbelievable.
I think it's amazing.
So creative.
Yeah.
Like, huge kudos to those people, because I couldn't do that.
It kind of makes me think of, do you ever see a movie called Fracture with Anthony Hopkins in it?
No, I haven't.
So there's in this movie, basically, he's accused of killing his wife. And the lawyer who he's working with is constantly trying to prove his innocence, but he's resistant to the lawyer. But that's kind of beside the point. The interesting thing is the character himself, his hobby is to build those things where you've probably seen them. I don't know the name of them, but they're like ball bearings that you put on a track and it goes round in a circle, and then it will go over a little hump, and then it will go inside a tiny little windmill, and that will turn around and drop it. And it goes on like this whole track, but it's perpetual. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess the energy runs out in the end at some point.
Yeah.
But it kind of powers itself. You just drop a ball bearing in, and the motion and hitting all the little triggers then makes it keep going and going. And it always reminds me of those things, like these machines that have all the little turning parts, and
that's so true.
Yeah, there's a kind of beauty to that, I think.
There is. It's satisfying too, I think, once it's all said and done, once you have the completed product right in front of you, and you have all your wires connected and set up. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Even though it looks almost messy with things being taped to your, DS or
I guess that's kind of a necessity though, right?
Yeah. I think overall it's a very neat concept, and I always am very fascinated to see what people create with all these things. I saw someone made a banana piano.
What the hell's a banana piano?
They used an Arduino and connected wires to each of the stems of the bananas.
Right.
And basically, there was like
I've seen this, because the electricity passes through your body.
Yes.
So when you touch the banana, it gives a different frequency and completes the circuit. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
It's not obviously a full piano, but
you never know.
I mean, hey, you never know.
I'm sure you can get enough bananas.
Easily. Just buy a few bunches, and there you go. You got
draw the keys on. When we were in school, you had a keyboard. You used to have to draw all the keys on in permanent marker.
Oh yeah.
Before Sharpies existed. I think Sharpies existed a long time. We just never had them.
Yeah, they weren't as accessible. Maybe.
I think I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Sharpies have been around for forever.
Really?
Since the 60s or 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't something I ever saw until I was a teenager at least.
Yeah, it wasn't well known until
But now they're everywhere.
Yeah. Before you would just use those big permanent markers, the giant ones with the big felt tip there.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then
the ones that smell really bad.
Yeah, you open it up and the whole room just blows up with the fumes, chemicals.
I got a question. So this might be a stupid question. Mm-hmm. This is totally Pokemon newbie territory here.
Okay.
So we've put together all these mods on the Switch Up for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Mm-hmm. Do you think that, because there's obviously very similar actions and themes and stuff that carry over into all the Pokemon games, and they're also in the cartoons and everything, like catching Pokemon and having fights with Pokemon and all that kind of stuff. Do you think that there's an opportunity or a window there to create mods for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee?
I've never personally played that game myself, so I'm not too sure what the concept is.
Right, okay.
It looks like it does have kind of a Pokemon Go-esque feel to it, where you literally throw your Pokeballs into the center of the ring. So
I'm wondering if there's a demand for that. If people were using Arduinos for that game, because that game seems way less in the spotlight than some of the other Pokemon games.
Yeah, it really didn't come out as popular as Sword and Shield has, which is kind of weird. Right? Yeah, because you would think Pokemon is Pokemon, but I think also because it was very kid-friendly. Yeah. They made it very kiddie, almost kiddie-like.
Like when you kind of oversimplify something?
Yeah, and I think maybe that was off-putting to a lot of people. I'm not sure. I mean, I love Pokemon and I didn't buy it. So that says a lot. Right.
So for me, I got a different perspective. So I only played the demo of the game.
Okay.
But I played it a fair amount. I'm still on the fence of whether I want to buy it. I think I'm going to wait for it to go down in price a little bit. Mm-hmm. Also, I need a bit more time to play it. I've got so many games I just haven't got around to playing at the moment.
Same.
Life, right? So for me, like you said, you think it's more of a kiddie game and stuff, and you haven't really played it. That's your perception from what you know of it.
From the outside.
Yeah, from the outside.
Yes.
But me, because I started Pokemon games with Pokemon Yellow, which back in the day, when I was in high school, Pokemon games on the Game Boy had just sort of come out. And it was really expensive. So I think at the time, you could only get Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue. So you'd have Charizard and not Bulbasaur. No,
Squirtle?
What's the advanced version of Squirtle with the two blasters on the shoulder? Is it Blastoise?
No, it says Final Evolution, I think.
I can't remember. It's a long time ago now.
I know what you mean.
They're like legacy Pokemon at this point, right? You had those two versions. Mm-hmm. But somewhere in Asia, they had Pokemon Yellow. And in our high school, people were going around with bootleg copies of Pokemon Yellow on floppy disk. because like everyone had Windows 98 PCs at the time.
Oh yeah.
So I just remember this gray floppy disk that just said yellow on it, on this lined sort of sticker, and oh my god, I must have played hundreds of hours of Pokemon Yellow on my computer, which you weren't even supposed to do.
Yeah.
It was only available on the Game Boy.
But because it was on a floppy disk,
yeah,
it was
somehow I don't know how
copy.
they just got a ROM on there, and somehow there was like an emulator. I mean, back in those days, I don't know how the hell it worked then.
How someone figured that out.
Yeah, but oh man, I played that so much, and then I got Pokemon Red on the Game Boy, and then the Game Boy Pocket, which I don't even think anyone remembers. They remember the Game Boy Color, which was the color version of the Pocket.
Oh, really?
And the Pocket version of the Game Boy was just it was like probably less than half as thick, but it was the same size.
Okay.
Well, roughly the same size, maybe slightly smaller, but basically half as thick. And it came in colors. It was the first one to come in colors because it was just gray before that.
Oh, yeah.
So then you got like a yellow one, green one, blue one to start with, and I think a red one. Then they added like crystal and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, all the more fancy
The interesting thing is when that came out, you could get a cartridge that was slotted into the back with a camera on it.
Oh.
And it's this really weird looking thing. It's like a Game Boy cartridge with like a white ball on the top.
Okay.
And you got this camera, and it's kind of like a camera phone today, and you'd plug a little printer into it, and you'd print out the pictures, and they would make them into little stickers so you could stick them on things.
Oh, really?
Cost a fortune.
Oh, yeah, it sounds like
like the equivalent of buying PSVR today.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It was ridiculous. Like no one could afford that.
I had no idea that
I
existed.
think it came as a pack with the printer and the camera.
Okay.
But then you could also buy the camera and the printer separately later on after everyone had obviously bought it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so playing Pokemon Yellow, I swear that Pokemon Yellow is basically Pokemon Let's Go.
Really?
They've literally made the same game. And Pokemon Yellow is basically, you know how we get the deviations between like Pikachu and Eevee, Sword and Shield? It's basically the same game, right?
Okay, yeah, it's just the different legendary.
So Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Yellow, all the same game. Mm-hmm. That's what Pokemon Let's Go is. It's that game, but brought up to modern day standards graphically.
Really?
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Wow. I had no idea.
And it's really addictive. So just to kind of break it down for you, in the game, what you do is you go to gyms and you get to know the characters at the beginning and you kind of get to know the world. Then you go out into the world and you catch wild Pokemon when you're in like the grass. So you'll be in like a forest. As soon as you walk into the grass, there'll be Pokemon. Mm-hmm. And now in the original games, you would just see like this grass area, which is basically like a bunch of pixels on a green screen, right?
Yeah.
And it would just go diddly 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 do, and you'd be suddenly in battle with a Pokemon.
Yes.
Now with Pokemon Let's Go, you see the Pokemon bouncing around in the grass, and you can go and sort of walk over to them and target them.
Oh.
And sort of then start a fight, and then you can catch them.
So they've changed that.
So they've changed that,
a little
and
bit.
I think that's where it's lost a bit of its charm because it used to be so random. You know, you could walk in and like fight a Mewtwo or a Diglett or something, and then randomly you might get something absolutely amazing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I don't remember if you had to level up before you got the higher levels. Like, I don't think you could just walk in and suddenly you're fighting a Charizard. I don't think it works like that.
Oh, no, usually you have to
I think it level scales, yeah. But that's how it was in the original games.
Wow.
And when you look at that game now, it's like it's just that game. It's the game I played in 1998.
That makes me want to play it now, honest to goodness, because I've never looked into it honestly.
I played the demo, and I have to say I did find it a little bit boring. Okay. I found it a little bit boring because I think I wanted to just jump into the fun.
Yeah.
And you could do that with the old Game Boy game.
Oh,
so
really?
you would just turn the Game Boy on. You'd be wherever you last were in like the nearest sort of gym or something. And you walk out. You just walk into like the nearest garden. and there's grass. Oh, great, grass. That means I'm going to get into a fight. And it goes diddly 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 do, and then random Pokemon.
That's what I like.
That's fun. But then you go into Pokemon Let's Go, and I could be wrong about this because I've only played the demo. This is my only frame of reference.
Yeah.
Maybe there's people like listening who, they are really into it. They've played it loads, and they're like, no, it's not like that at all. You might think that at first, and that's totally fair. They might be right. I'm just saying from what I've seen.
This is your.
This is just my personal sort of experience, right?
Exactly.
When I walked into it, I could see a Meowth. And I could see something else. I can't remember what other Pokemon it was. It was a yellow one. And I just walked over to it, got into battle, and I was like, well, I saw it first. I knew what was coming.
See, that's like the same in Sword and Shield. When you're in the wild area and you have the taller patches of grass, that's where all the Pokemon are.
Right.
And they literally pop up and they'll just spawn in right there in front of you. And
so it's like complete surprise.
Well, no, it is, but it isn't, because based on the weather, you'll get different Pokemon. So if it's snowing, you'll have like Sneasel and like all the wintry ice kind of Pokemon.
Yeah.
And basically, they'll always spawn in the same patches of grass in the same areas, just different Pokemon based on the weather. But so basically, it's predictable.
It's fairly predictable.
Yeah, so this one patch, there's always going to be Mudbrays over there, or, there's going to be Diglets in this other patch all the time.
I guess it's a good and a bad thing, right? Because then if you really want a certain Pokemon, you know where to go, you know how to get it.
Exactly.
But then it also kind of takes out the fun.
Yeah, I like
you
the
know
surprise.
What's coming. Yeah.
When you are going through a patch of grass, if you do avoid the Pokemon, sometimes exclamation points will come up, and then all of a sudden it'll throw you into a random battle. I like that because
that's basically what that original Pokemon game was like.
Exactly. And I like that because then you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And I mean, usually it will be also still based on like the weather, but you still don't know which Pokemon you're about to go into battle with.
Okay.
And it's still the surprise aspect of starting a battle and not knowing.
Yeah.
Which I like better than saying, there's that Choodle. I'm going to get the Choodle now.
Well, I mean, what's interesting is it actually works really well for the Switch up. Because the more predictable the game is, the more we can have mods that kind of jump into the game and do that for you.
Yeah, because then we can predict what's going to happen. We can see exactly what Pokemon's going to pop up where, which is really handy for, like, Auto Lotto. There's one den when we spawn into the East Lake Axwell, or whatever it's called, that first little area in the wild area.
Right.
I believe south of Motostoke. Everyone says go to the den that's in front of you. And while that would be a good idea, the reason we don't do that is because once you've completed the game, a Pokemon will spawn and pop up right in your path towards the den. And a lot of people... That was like,
you had a Ghastly that appeared the other day when we were trying to record something. I think it was when we were getting the Gigantamax for Alcremie or Alcremie.
Alcremie, yeah.
Alcremie,
big giant cake.
Yeah. And you were like, oh, I'll just do this. And then all of a sudden... this Ghastly appeared, and you're like, no, you're in the way of the den, and then you had to, like, go over to the den.
That's the one thing I didn't like about the wild area, is how bad the pop-ins are with the Pokemon like that.
Is that pop-in, or is that, like, is that part of the game mechanics where it's popped in, and it's just a flaw?
I think that's just how the game is. I don't think it's anything wrong with the game. It's just how they made it to be.
They've made it to be, right.
Yeah, I just wish you could see them pop up farther ahead of you. I don't care. Like, fine, if they have
so
to
there's just like
up,
almost like a further draw distance for the spawning,
because exactly, because if I'm going over to that den that I want to go and do that Dynamax battle at, I'm going straight for it, and then all of a sudden, boop, there's a Pokemon in front of me, and I'm in a battle now with a very strong Pokemon that's going to either totally kill off my whole team, or I'm going to have trouble running away from if I'm at a lower level.
I think we're getting the go home cue at this point. We've been talking for a while.
Yeah, we're just short of 45 minutes.
Yeah, we should wrap it up.
Yes, we should. I mean, thank you so much for joining me here today.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. You had so many great things, insight to give us, and
I guess I have loads of questions because I'm interested.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right? I find Pokemon is sometimes an endless topic to talk about.
Yeah,
and it's a game everybody loves. and I highly recommend you would play Sword and Shield.
Well, I want to even more now. I wanted to, because I've played it a little bit to record footage for mods, and I've seen other people playing it, and I've tried things out, but I've not actually got into it.
I would highly recommend it because it is a lot of fun. And I haven't played a Pokemon game in a long time. So this was the first one in maybe 6-7 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and I just fell in love with it all over again.
That's great.
It's like day one. Yeah, honestly. And using the Switch Up is so helpful sometimes for little things like the auto confirm or, the little helpful mods.
Yeah, it's like Majestic said the other day, box release.
Yes.
Like, that's the mod he's wanted forever.
It is
in Pokemon games, right?
It's one of the most tedious things is once, especially for those who shiny hunt.
Yeah,
you're gonna have those boxes and boxes of the same Pokemon.
Yeah,
so
I know. I got like my fiance and we have like a gazillion Funko Pops.
Yeah,
and now I feel like I need a Funko Pop release. Because I got too many.
We'll talk to Majestic about that. See if he can make you a mod.
And I'll do a human-sized Arduino to get rid of Funko Pops.
Oh my gosh, yes, everything. Make it out of Lego or something. And well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you all very much for listening, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's been great to be here. Thank you guys for listening as well.
We'll catch you all at the next PokeHub.